Thank you for subscribing if you are new to this channel, and if you're an existing subscriber, I still say thank you very much for sticking to this channel. Now, without wasting much of our time, let us go into some practice questions in order to prepare ourselves better for this year 2024 UTME examination in biology. That is, of course, for those who registered biology. So let's start. All right, so question number 1, it says the process. I hope you can see that on the board. I hope you can see that on the board. Now, the question number 1 says the process in which complex substances are broken down in simpler ones, that means they are broken down into simpler ones, is referred to as A, anabolism, B, catabolism, C, metabolism, and D, tropism. Now, option A, anabolism, simply means the building up of what complex substances using simple inorganic ones, trying to build. For example, photosynthesis is an anabolic process in plants. Then when we also try to use when plants rather try to use the carbon dioxide, which are inorganic substances, water, inorganic, to build a complex organic such as glucose, you understand, it is called an anabolic process. It's a building up process. Anabolism and catabolism are actually two types of metabolic processes that occur in the body of living organisms are called metabolic process. When it's building up, when the process is a building up process such that something will be produced, it is called anabolism. But when it's a breaking down process such that whatever that will be produced, whatever that will be the results, will be as a result of breaking down two things or something, it is called catabolism. So the answer to this question is option B, which is catabolism. Catabolism occurs in living organisms just like we have respiration, whereby we break down what glucose in the using oxygen that the organism, either a plant or animal, has what taken in. Do you understand? Then we'll talk about metabolism, which I just said. Then tropism has to do with response to stimuli. All right, so we move over to the next question, which is question number 2. It says the organ which is sensitive to light in euglena is the organ which is sensitive to light in the euglena is the A, gullet, B, flagellum, C, chloroplast, and D, eye spots. Now, what is the chloroplast? Sorry, what is the gullet, which is option A? The gullet is simply like a mouth part, or is just like a mouth through which food goes into the euglena. Remember, the euglena is that organism that possesses both plant and animal features. Do you understand? It is a unicellular organism, but it has both plant and animal-like feature. Then option B says flagellum. Flagellum is a locomotory organelle, meaning it is an organ for movement. Sorry. Then option C says chloroplast. Now, chloroplast is that organelle that is found, and it is always there because it contains chlorophyll. So the chloroplast is that organ that green plants or any organism that is capable of photosynthesizing must have or acquire, because it must contain the chlorophyll inside the chloroplast. Then option D says eye spot. Now, the eye spot is that sensitive part that is just like the antenna in an insect, which is highly sensitive to anything light or any movement. So that is the answer to this question, which is option D, the eye spot. Now let us go into the next practice question. All right, so question number 3, and it says proboscis is a structure that is mostly found in A, insects, B, tapeworms, C, amphibian, D, molluscs. Now the molluscs found under the mollusca are known to have a soft body. They also most of the time is radially symmetrical. We have the jellyfish there. Now, one thing you need to know, sorry, we have the snails, the octopus. Now, one thing you need to know about the mollusks is that they tend to have a body that is covered with shell, but not all of them. They have either the bivalves having two shells or one shell like the snails. Now the insects, option A. Insects are known to have proboscis. That is one of their what we call their feeding mouth parts. Not all do have that's what's it called, but majority of them have their proboscis. Some are coiled like in the butterfly, some are sharp and straight like in the mosquito. Do you understand? So this proboscis is one of their what feeding mouth parts. Why some don't have, like in the grasshopper, what they have is a biting and chewing mouth parts. Then the tapeworm are known to have a head which we refer to as the scolex. Now this head is divided into three parts. The head of the tapeworm, the upper part is called the head. The lower, just a bit around that head, you have the rough edges, we call the what hooks, and then by the sides we have the suckers, which are where it uses to suck nutrients, more like the feeding mouth parts. Then it uses the hooks to anchor in the walls of the intestine of most animal. It's what parasitize, mostly humans and also pigs. Then of course mollusks, I said they are animals that belong to the invertebrate mollusca and are known to have a soft body tissues with shells. So the answer to this question obviously is A, which is what? Insects. So let us go straight into the next question, question number 4. All right, so question number 4 says, during the manufacture of food by plants, which of the following organism uses energy from the sun during manufacturing of plants? Which of the organism uses energy from the sun? Option A says Anabena. Option B says sulfur bacteria. Option C says Nitrosomonas species. And option D says Nitrobacter species. Now, what is Anabena? Anabena, cyanobacteria, nostoc. These are organisms that belong to the what? A special type of algae that we refer to. They are bacteria, but they are also under a special type of algae, especially the blue-green algae, nostoc rather, is a special type of algae. Then Anabena cyanobacteria are bacteria that are known to have what? The chlorophyll, which they use to produce food. And any organism that has that chlorophyll must get energy from the sun, unlike those that produce food using the process we call chemosynthesis. Now, chemosynthetic bacteria are example sulfur bacteria, like we have in option B. These organisms do not need energy from the sun, rather they would use energy gotten from oxidizing, these bacteria oxidizing some elements, some inorganic elements. So when they do that, they get energy from there. And then Nitrosomonas and Nitrobacter are all microorganisms that help to add nitrogen to the soil. These are what we refer to as nitrifying bacteria. So the answer to this question is A, which is Anabena. Let us move over to the next question, question number 5. All right, welcome back. Now we're looking at question number 5. It says the enzyme that is present in saliva is. Now, if you remember one of my videos where I talked about the alimentary canal, the pathway, I actually explained most of these digestive enzymes. Now, if you can, trace that video, a video where I spoke about the first episode when I was talking about biology area of focus 1. Yes, that particular video I talk about many of these digestive enzymes. So if you want to get a more highlighted explanation on that, I hope you will do well to visit that video. Now let us dive right into the option of this question. I repeat the question. It says the enzyme that is present in the saliva is option A, renin. Is So I repeat, the question says the enzyme that is present in saliva is option A, renin, B, limpase, C, pepsin, and D, ptyalin. Now the answer to this, of course, is what? Ptyalin. Ptyalin is that enzyme that is found in what? The saliva, and it helps in digesting what? Partial hydrolysis of what? Maltose, which is disaccharide, a carbohydrate that has two what? Two monosaccharide. So option A, renin, has to do with an enzyme found in the stomach that helps in the what? Coagulation of what? Milk. It helps to convert into carcinogen to what? Casein. Then limpase is found in the duodenum. Yes, it helps in digestion of limpase. Limpase helps in digestion of what? Fat and oil. Then of course, pepsin, option C, helps in what? It is found in the stomach, and it also helps in the digestion of what? Protein. So the answer to this question is obviously option D, which is what? Ptyalin, found in the saliva. Now let us move over to the next question. Question number 6, and it says, plants that have special devices for trapping and digesting insects are option A, carnivorous, B, symbiotic, C, parasitic, D, saprophytic. Excuse me. Now, when you talk about carnivores of course are known to feed on flesh or anything that has nothing to do with what? Plants. Now, plants, there are some plants, yes, you might be saying plants that have special devices for trapping insects. Yes, there are some plants that feed on insects, and they also have the ability to also carry out photosynthesis. Now, this is because they have special devices that are hair-like. So if any insect flies into that organ or structure, it locks or closes such that it traps the insect. Now, when you see this kind of plants, plants like sundew, the Venus flytrap, the bladderwort. You also see it in the pitcher plant and some other plants. So that is the answer. Then when you talk about option B, symbiotic, these are plants that live in a mutualistic, when two organisms live in a mutualistic what? Association, such that they are both benefiting from each other. Such a case is said to be what? They are said to be in what? In a symbiotic relationship. Then option C, parasitism or parasitic rather, talks about organisms or plants that would always stay on another plant just to get nutrients, minerals, and everything it needs from that plant to survive. They might be inside the body or outside the body, but most parasitic plants are found outside the body, like dodder plants, mistletoe. Mistletoe and dodder plants are found on other plants outside, coiled around it with their organ for getting nutrients. The organ we refer to as the haustoria, Haustoria. Now that haustoria enables them, pierce the stem of this plant and get nutrients. Don't mistake parasitic plants with what we call epiphytes, plants that grow on another plant. Epiphytes are just there to grow on them for support, but they don't get nutrients. They don't parasitize. But parasitic plants are there to get nutrients, hence they parasitize. So the answer to this question for plants that have special device for feeding on insects are called carnivorous plants. Sometimes they might also be called what? Insectivorous plants. Yes. Or sometimes you might see them under holozoic type of nutrition, where we have holozoic type of nutrition divided into 3, which we refer to as the omnivorous, carnivorous, and herbivorous type of what? Feeding. So the answer to this is actually what? A, carnivorous. So let us go into the next practice question. The next question, number 7, says an example of a parasitic protozoa is option A, paramecium, B, plasmodium, C, euglena, D, chlamydomonas. Now, what is paramecium? Paramecium is a unicellular organism. It is said to have a cilia around it and a mega and micro nuclei. It also, of course, has the pellets and other structures, the cytoplasm and everything inside the cell, but it is not a parasite. Then B, Plasmodium. Yes, Plasmodium is a unicellular organism, but it is the what? It is actually the what? The pathogen, the disease-causing organism that is responsible for causing what? The malaria disease, which is transmitted by the female Anopheles mosquito. So this Plasmodium is actually the pathogen that once the female Anopheles mosquito comes for a blood meal, and maybe it has this what Plasmodium in that body or the proboscis, it does what? It transmits it during a blood meal. So the Plasmodium is actually the answer because it is parasitic. While Glenna and Chlamydomonas are also unicellular, but they are not parasitic. Alright, let's go on to the next question. Number 8 says, fungi are referred to as heterotrophs because they A. are filamentous, B. lack chlorophyll, C. have mycelium, D. lack roots. Now, when you talk about heterotrophs, for anything to be considered a heterotroph, it must not be able to produce food, meaning all animals cannot produce food through a process of using either the chlorophyll with the energy from the sun and other requirements, water, carbon dioxide, or either through chemosynthesis. So if you cannot produce food through any of these methods, either photosynthesis or chemosynthesis, it is automatically considered a what? A heterotroph. Now fungi is heterotroph, but the major reason, of course, is because it lacks what? Chlorophyll, with this explanation I just gave. Now A says are filamentous. Fungi tend to look like plants, have a structure like a stem, and rhizoids for roots, and then the hyphia, the rhizoids, and the sporangophyll of all this thread-like structure of the fungi we put together, we call the mycelium. Then when you say they lack roots, actually they lack roots, but they have a structure that looks like a root-like structure, which they call the rhizoid, which enables them what? Get nutrients from these dead and decaying organisms they feed from. So the answer to this is actually that because they lack chlorophyll. So let's move over to the next question. Alright, so let's look at the next question. Question number 9. It says the blood circulatory system of vertebrates consists of the blood circulatory system of vertebrates consists of option A, heart, arteries, capillaries, and veins. Option B, heart, aorta, capillaries, and veins. C, heart, aorta, arteries, and veins. D, heart, vena cava, arteries, and vein. Now, I want to explain something about this. Now, I want to say something about the option. Option A says heart, artery, capillaries, and vein. The heart is the organ for pumping blood, we all know. But when it pumps blood, the blood leaves a major artery we call the aorta. Now, the aorta is needed in this option, but because of the aorta is a major artery, but because the way the options are structured, you must start with the heart, leaving the blood through the aorta. But it leaves into smaller arteries called artery. The major artery is the aorta. From the aorta, it enters the artery. Then it's before it enters into other organ, it enters the artery to other parts or organs of the body, like the kidney, like the lungs, the kidney, the brain, anywhere. You get. Now this artery, before they finally, because they always carry oxygenated blood, before it finally takes, exchange blood, and then the vein, of course, returns blood, it must get to a little tiny structure we call the capillary. Capillary is just a network of artery and veins, and what the capillary does is to bring about exchange of blood between the artery and the vein. Do you understand why the blood is exchanging between them? Then the vein helps to return blood. So the answer to this is where we have heart, artery, capillary, and vein. The aorta is important, but because of the way the options are structured, you need to consider the artery, capillaries, and vein before you now look at the word aorta. Do you understand? But actually, it's through the aorta that the blood leaves the heart. You understand? And the blood returns to the heart. A major vein through which the blood gets to the blood enters the heart. From the upper part is the vena cava, which we refer to as the superior vena cava, and then the lower parts of the body through which the blood enters the heart is what we refer to as the inferior vena cava. So the answer to this is option A, which is heart, artery, capillary, and what? Vein. Now we'll move over to the next question. Alright, so question number 10 says, a plant tissue that carries water and mineral salts is A. Cambium, B. Xylem, C. Cortex, D. Phloem. Now the cambium option A is that part that is made up, when you must have heard about vascular bundle. The vascular bundle is actually made of three parts: the xylem, the phloem, and in between the xylem and the phloem is the cambium. The cambium is that part of the plant that is responsible for secondary growth. You understand? So it does not conduct food, neither does it conduct water, but it brings about secondary growth, and it is the link always connecting the xylem and the phloem. Then option B, the xylem. The xylem is that part, organ, or that tissue in plant that helps to conduct. It helps to conduct water and mineral salts from the root up through the stem, and then to the leaves and other parts of the plant. Because naturally we know that water from the soil gets into the root through the root hairs, through a process of osmosis. It then goes to other parts, which refers to as a stem, through a process of capillary action, and then finally it moves up to the leaves, and this leaves or escapes on the leaves in form of vapor through a process or through the help of what we call transpiration pool. So the answer to this question is the xylem, which helps to conduct water and mineral salts. Then option D, the phloem, has to do with translocation or movement of food from where they are produced to where they are needed. Then the cortex is always the outermost structure of the plants, where we find the collenchyma and the sclerenchyma that helps in giving support and not in conducting food or water. So the answer to this is xylem, option B. Now we move over to the next question.